This pro player who went to Worlds is saying that Branded is one of the most untouched secrets of Genesys format, and I couldn't agree more. Let's talk about the state of Branded and how it's doing in Genesys format. Hey, what is up guys? It's MetagamesGX here, and I wanted to give you guys an update on how Branded's doing in Genesys format and what my current build looks like, because I think that there's some new discoveries I wanted to share with you guys, on top of just discussing what the strengths of these new techs are and talking about why Branded is one of the best decks in Genesys format. As of right now, Branded hasn't been doing much. There haven't been too many events for Genesys, but I've been seeing a lot more on, let's just say, DB Ladder and yugioh Mega. I think Branded's going to do excellent at the next YCS if a good pilot takes it, because it has all the capabilities of actually doing well in this format. It has some non-engine points, so it can actually spend it on like pretty decent cards. It doesn't have the most as other decks, but you have a ton of in-engine board breaking to make up for that, and power plays that, you know, Branded Fusion just cannot be stopped kind of card, which is just still one of the most insane cards I think in the format when you pair it with a good extra deck and main deck. Of whether it's the pure version or the Draco Tal version, I think one of these builds are going to top the upcoming YCS. I think now it has the capability of going second into decks, because right now I'm choosing to run Fuwalos as my Droll replacement. I'll talk about that more into the video, but it also can make a very layered end board, because you have Mercurier, which gives you a layered end board that doesn't just lose to a single Ultimate Slayer like you were last format. You also have things like Titanclad, which makes Mirror Jade and Branded High Spirits way better going second cards. So you just have like a way more holistic approach to the format, and the deck just like has very good silver bullets like Alba Lenatus, and once again can run plenty of really good techs like Fleur de Lis, which we're going to talk about a lot in this video because it's the GOAT. It's incredible. You guys need to see why. And I was pretty passionate about Konami having to fix Branded, because with the second points adjustment list, as everyone knows, they went and pointed a bunch of the extra cards that made the deck basically way worse than it needed to be, and they undid that, and they made Fallen the Virtuous 40 points, unfortunately, but you know, at the cost of getting Branded to be playable again, I will certainly take that. So now I'm finally diving into and having a lot of fun with playing Genesys again, so you guys should definitely be seeing some more Genesys content. So this is what my build looks like right now. I'm still on the Stellar tech, and this is going to be my pure Branded Despia list. I do have my Branded Draco Tal list, and if you guys want to see content on that, let me know. I do like Branded Draco Tal, however, I think that there is a good chance that this branded Despia list is going to just be better than the Draco Tal list, because Draco Tal gets to run the Draco Tal cards, which are incredible board breakers, and frankly, for the points allotted, I don't think you can get better board breakers than the actual Draco Tal cards in Branded, because then that also allows you to run the Shaddoll cards, which turns just your breakers into also engine, which is just super useful. But in this build, I chose to, since we actually have a fair bit, we have about 20-25 points available. We have Nibiru plus 2 Mulcharmy Fubulos, which are the hand traps I'm choosing to use my points on top of just having the 2 Cartesia plus 1 Quem, 1 Mercurier, and 1 Branded Fusion. And then we do have the 1 Albion for fusing, 1 Lubellion for fusing, and then 1 Mirror Jade. I really do like this lineup, and this leaves us at about 100 points, with everything else being unpointed, engine, or non-engine. And I'm actually quite happy with this build. You guys will actually see some gameplay from this build at the second half of this video, so I will show you guys what Dogmatica Fleur de Lis is doing in there, because I think this is actually a card that I overlooked greatly in Branded, in Advanced, and Genesys, because I think with Genesys, I was literally looking at my deck list last night, doing my normal thing, deck building, and trying to, you know, progress the deck forward, and I felt like that, you know, Fubulos is necessary right now in Genesys format, for better or for worse, because they put Droll and Lockbird to 25, which basically makes it on like the almost the same tier as Maxi with its points. It's basically unplayable. And with that being said, you need something for certain decks that just go completely unchecked without seeing a Fubulos or a Droll and Lockbird. There's a lot of decks that you guys know, like White Forest, Centurion, stuff like that, that if you just let them go full combo, yeah, you could have a Dark Ruler, but I think you really do need like a Fubulos or like a Droll to be, or maybe even a Nibiru for the decks that don't make an Omni Negate, right? And so I think Fubulos is the next best card next to Droll, right? Because Droll was 5 points, Fubulos is 7. Yeah, you can't use Fubulos on your own turn when you have cards, but I do think that, or sorry, on your opponent's turn when you have cards like Droll, but I think that this card still does the job where it makes it so your opponent can't make an unbreakable end board for you, and also checks a lot of the, just makes it a more fair game state. So I'm currently running 2. Let me take out the Droll here at 40, and you might be like, why don't you just make a 3rd? Well, that brings us to 106, so that's unfortunate. I don't know what else we could remove. I mean, you could remove the Mercurier, and you can remove a Cartesia, and then you could run the 3 Fua, so I'm letting you guys know that you could do that, but in my testing, I'm currently running 6 hand traps, and that seems to be enough for right now in Genesis. I think this could change in the future in removing the Mercurier, but we'll talk about that after. But I'm running 2 Fuwalos for that reason, 1 Nibiru, and you might be like, well, what's the point of running 2 Fuwalos, 1 Nib? Well, once again, I feel like Nib almost does the same thing as Fuwalos against certain decks, against those types of decks that I mentioned before. So having a Nibiru to draw off of Fuwalos, I think, is super important, so that's why I'm running the 1 Nibiru. I would, once again, love to run 3 Fuwalos, 1 Nibiru, but I feel like this is fine because I was looking for another hand traps to pair. I was literally just going through the best hand traps in Genesis format that were pointed and unpointed. I originally looked at Ghost Ogre because Ghost Ogre is at 3, but this would actually lead us to 101 points with our current construction, so it was impossible to run the 3 Ogre, 3 Fuwalos. So I ended up going with the 1 Nibiru. So once again, I have something good to draw, but then I wanted to draw something else, and Dogmatica Fleur-de-Lis, I was reminded, had no points available, which I saw this on Twitter the other day, and I was like, how is that a thing? This card's like insane. And because of that, I think it's easily a card that we can run in Genesis format just as a hand trap and an end board piece, because it's also engine in our deck, frankly. Yeah, it locks you, but we'll go over that. So it's a level 8 light spellcaster, 25/25, so that means it's summonable off of Despia and Lulu Wall Lilith, and it's searchable off of Titaniclad, since Titaniclad can add a Dogmatica, and this is a hand trap, folks. So you have a searchable hand trap in your deck now, and during the main phase, if a monster was special summoned from the extra deck is on the field, quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. So that means if you have your own extra deck monster, you can special summon this, or if your opponent has an extra deck monster, you can special summon it, which is really useful on your opponent's turn. This card special summon from the hand, you can set 1 Dogmatica trap from your deck, and it can be activated this turn while your opponent controls a fusion, synchro, Xyz, or link monster with 2500 or more attack. So that might sound pretty specific, but in all actuality, what that just reads as, you can set 1 Dogmatica trap from your deck, and then it can be activated this turn. The second condition doesn't really matter because most decks are putting up a monster with 2500 more attack. Your opponent might be able to play around it, but a lot of decks just cannot. So this allows you to have a nice hand trap to be able to obviously set the Dogmatica Punishment, and Dogmatica Punishment is a card that says target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, send 1 monster with an equal or higher attack from your extra deck to the graveyard, and if you do, destroy that monster. And then until the end of your next turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon from the extra deck. And you might be like, and this is like why people didn't run Fleur-de-Lis, because they're like, oh, it locks me in branded, why would I run that? Even if I draw it going second, like, I will be locked on my own turn. And to me, this is such a good hand trap because you get basically 2 pops, or just like, you know, you get pop plus another interruption, right? You can run them along, you can run Garura, which actually I was running Garura in here, so I guess I will take out the 1 Chaos Star Source for Garura, even though I really want another Chaos Star Source, so that's something you can consider. And you get a draw, right? So you can draw into another hand trap, or you can send, if you run them along, or the Valon siding in, or you can send Albion, which gets you to, you know, either branded opening or branded in high spirits, which allows you to set up a board to play on your opponent's next turn. As you guys know, branded is very main phase 3 heavy, so you guys will see in some of this gameplay, it is like going into the main phase 3, or going into the end phase and making a board even though you're locked, because you can just play on your opponent's turn, and if you already broke their board, I think the punishment is worth it in my opinion. And then I'm also running the 3 Dark Ruler, and basically the list is the same as the last list. If you want to see more explanations on that, let me know. But yeah, let's check out this gameplay since I've just been yapping. Well, this is going to be the first gameplay with it. Then I go branded opening, pitch the Dark Ruler no more. Then we'll send the Cartesia, and then I'll normal summon a Luber, get the branded fusion, And then I will go Branded Fusion, summon the Albion by sending the Albaz plus the Cartesia, since I already have... I mean, I probably could have just sent a Stellar there, frankly. I don't know why I didn't send a Stellar there, but I go Chainlink 1 Albion, Chainlink 2 Quem, targeting the Cartesia. Well, I guess that's why, because I don't need to go Stellar. I have Quem and Cartesia access. But I will summon out the Cartesia, and then I will go into the Lubellion by banishing the Albaz plus the Aluber, and then I will discard the High Spirits for cost, and then go into Mirror Jade, and now I'll just fuse off the Albion plus the Cartesia into the Grand Guignol. Pretty standard stuff right now, sending up my graveyard. I decided to send the Brigand though, since I already have Quem in rotation, so I can search out the Mercurier. And then, I mean, I could have also sent Titanclad Search Albaz, frankly. I just felt like this was fine too. And now I just add back a Cartesia, and then add back a High Spirits, which is pretty nice, playing that grind game. And then I go search the Albaz, still off the Brigand anyway, instead of searching out the Mercurier. And then I go set the Branded Retribution off the Albion here. Honestly, I probably should have gone with the Mercurier, but getting the Albaz also means I can summon out the Cartesia off the Quem, and then I have multiple interruptions off of that, plus a Albaz, so this is technically more than Mercurier, so that's probably what my mindset was at the time. I passed to my opponent. This is a pretty standard Genesys branded end board, frankly, and he ends up Lava Goleming me, and that triggers my Mirror Jade, so that's totally fine. And I still have Guignol as a end board piece, which is pretty nice. And then he goes Ogre Dance, search out the Zeaman, and I just let that through. I kind of just have to let him play the game since I have nothing to stop his effect. I can't just like make a Draco Stapelia here. And so he actually ends up triggering the, what is this? The Rising Scale, which is a really good card. This card's insane, actually. And I'm just going to go Branded Retribution, since that summons itself, so I can just negate that and return my Albion plus my Brigand to my extra. I can, having the one Albion, this is like why Retribution's like definitely mandatory, even though you don't have Saronir, right? Like you have to have that grind game, and he just scoops there, and this is game 2. I draw Dogmatica Fleur-de-Lis, plus Spriggan's Kit, Twin Twister, Ultimate Slayer, and Aluber. So this is a really good showcase of a really good going second hand. Even though I only have one normal summon, the kit could turn into a special summon, right? So my opponent is going to go first. He goes Ogre Dance, discard, and then reveal another punk name, and then he goes Zeaman to summon out, or sorry, Deer Note to summon out the Zeaman. And then pitching the Deer Note, and now he'll go Zeaman effect to add one punk monster from his deck to his hand. He will add the Rising Scale, and this is totally fair. I kind of have to let him play the game. He'll go Rising Scale effect, and then summon out the Deer Note, and then he synchro summons the Punk-Chan Dragon Drive, and that's fine. He will take some more life here, softening himself up, and then he summons off Zeaman off the Dragon Drive effect, then also searches the Sharakuse, and then overlays for the Jam Fever. And here, since he finally has an extra monster that's also 2500 or more, and Jam Fever is an ignition effect, so he has to manually activate it, I have Priority Quick Effect. I go Priority Quick Effect, summon out Fleur-de-Lis the Thunderbolt, and now I go Fleur-de-Lis the Thunderbolt effect to then set the Dogmatica Punishment. And here I just go Dogmatica Punishment because this stops his combo. He has to have an extender to play through this. This is why I think Punishment's insane in Genesys, right? Because the decks are just weaker with less hand traps. So like you can actually stop like Punishment's and like it's a target. It's an ogre you can use. It's basically just a gamma, right? That doesn't negate the effect. It just destroys on will. So it's pretty good. In here I'm just going to, I can't send anything though because he goes Teleport Fusion into Axon Kicker Oracle. This threw me off. I didn't even know this was a card. Quick effect, fusion summon one Psychic Fusion monster by banishing from field or hand into this, which is a, when your opponent would special summon a monster, quick effect, negate the summon if you do banish that monster, and it requires a Psychic plus a Synchro Xyz or a Link monster. So this card is actually a really good super poly target into like Psychic decks, or just like Kashtira in particular. And since the target's no longer there for punishment to check the attack, it can no longer summon from the extra deck to the graveyard. And then you go Sharakuse, and then Charcuse effects summon out or get the Madam, and then goes Wagon into Zeaman again, and he just makes gets the Extreme Session, and then just overlays for the Break Sword, which was weird to me. I don't know why he's going Break Sword. Like, I'm sure he could have made a better rank 3, but then again, if he made like a Cicada or something, it wouldn't have mattered. I would have just attacked over it. So he pops the Fleur-de-Lis, and then I just go into my turn, right? And I basically just win the game from here because I can go Ultimate Slayer, and he just scoops, right? Because I can go Ultimate Slayer, bounce the Oracle, and you might be like, okay, and what do you do from here? I go Aluber, go for probably High Spirits, and then go, I go Fusion Deployment into Cartesia, and then go Aluber into High Spirits, and then pitch the kit probably, and then get Branded in red, and then you basically just get the same board that you would have otherwise. So that's right, because then I would just right, because you have the breakers to clear the monsters, and then you still have your, like, all your cards still set plays on your opponent's turn even without a fusion summon, right? That's Quem Cartesia control, so having Quem Cartesia in rotation means I can play on my opponent's turn. Luber gets me to that kind of setup, plus like probably a Branded in red, so I'm gonna win this game anyways, right? I already, like, he went through his engine, he has no follow-up, and Fleur-de-Lis like won that game, so I just wanted to show off like that, because like that really just showed the power of it. And here I got into a new game, and this is kind of just showing off what you could do as an end board piece. So I'm just doing standard branded stuff. Got the Albaz in the graveyard to special summon out Cart, so I can dodge an Impermanveiler on a Luber. I search out Branded Fusion here. I go Branded Fusion. I go Albion into Albaz plus a Stellar into Lubellion. This shows off the Stellar line. So I send the Stellar plus the Albaz off Branded Fusion, make the Albion. Then I go Albion, banish the Aluber plus Albaz into Lubellion. And here I'm going to trigger the Stellar since I discarded a Speller Trap to activate a monster effect. And so a Stellar is going to special out, and then a Stellar can get me out to Quem, but I'm just going to first go into Grand Guignol off the Cartesia, and then I can go Grand Guignol, send Titanclad. Here I should have sent the Brigand, but this was actually totally... Actually, no, I shouldn't have, because this shows... At first I was like, oh no, I should have sent the Brigand, but no. I can search another hand trap, right? So I'll go Stellar, pitch the Dark Ruler into Quem, then go Quem effects and the High Spirit, since I already have Albaz and Cartesia in rotation. You don't need to... You can just send more card advantage to recur to my hand. And I go Titanclad, search the Fleur-de-Lis, so nice on-board piece, right? And then I go add the Branded High Spirits, and then add the Cartesia hand, and then I set the Branded in red here. I felt like I'd do Branded red so I can clear bodies for Fleur-de-Lis, basically. Maybe it could have been Retribution there, honestly, so I could return the Mirror Jade once it's been used up, but like, I also kind of want to loop the Mirror Jade, so I don't want to spend my Mirror Jade. And so he draws for turn. It's against Dark World, so he goes Dark Corridor, add one Dark World monster. It's a pretty broken card. He adds Genta. Can't do anything about this. This is where like you would want... I was kind of worried about this because I'm like, well, without Droll, I feel like it might have the engine to play through this, but we'll see how it goes. And so he searches out Diabolica, and then goes Ceruli to summon to my field, which kind of sucks, actually. I actually just realized... I realized before, but what I could have done is I could have went Branded in red and summon... I should have summoned a monster to the zone. I should have basically went Branded red, target Albaz, makes Stapelia, because then his Genta or his Ceruli wouldn't summon, and then he wouldn't get a discard, so I misplay here. Just something to know for the future. You can just body block the Dark World deck, and then they can't trigger the Ceruli, which is how they get their best effects, so this is definitely a misplay here. He summons out the Diabolica, which is a floater, so as long as I banish that, that's totally fine. And since he summoned off a monster through a monster effect, I'll just go Lulu, but then he goes... I have to trigger the Ceruli to discard my opponent's card, and so he discards the Brow to draw 2, which is pretty good. That's just a Pot of Greed. And here he goes Genta to add 1 Gates, and that's totally fine. So he goes Gates, and here I have the Lulu to negate the Gates, if anything. So I have a pretty good combo here. He goes Gates, and then I can go Mirror Jade to make a card leave the extra deck to send it to the graveyard as cost. That mentions Fallen of Albaz. That's a fusion monster to banish non-target his Diabolica. Send the Rinbrum just in case I get to the Albaz by if he clears my bodies. And here it triggers the Lulu, so he can't use Gates. tries to use gates but is negated, so he cannot look. I mean, I guess he does that for cost, so he can still do this, so that's totally fine. He gets to summon out the Genta, and then he goes charge, which allows him to target one level 4 or lower fiend in graveyard, special summon, and then discard one fiend. And I can't do anything about that, so he summons out the Brow by discarding another Brow, which will allow him to draw a card, and then he normal summons Brow, which is crazy, so many Brows. And here, before he gets to overlay, I go Branded Red, target the Albaz, and here I'm just gonna make a Chaos Star Source by discarding or going into Lubellion, spinning back Albaz plus itself to keep my grind game in rotation. I think I spin back the Albion actually, since I only have a 1 of Albion. It's really important to always spin back Albion plus Lubellion in my opinion. If you're only playing one like I am, and so I go Chaos Star Source, pop his 2 bodies, leave him with the level 3 because I feel like he made like I don't know, I don't really care about Break Sword. Obviously it's a different player, and he goes Dark World Ascension here, which I'm like, why didn't you do this before? But this is totally fine. But Dark World Ascension to loose the Dusk Dark. Well, I guess I was like, well, he can't go into, I thought he was just going into the Omni Negate, but the only one he can make is Loose, which is a really cool card actually. But you can target one card your opponent controls, send one fairy or fiend from the deck to the graveyard. If you do destroy that, yeah, that's pretty good. It just pops a bunch of cards and extends, so it's gonna pop my Mirror Jade. That's going by sending the rainbow. So I get to trigger the Mirror Jade, and then I get to finally go Fleur-de-Lis here though, because Rainbow can bounce a level 7 or a lower Dark World, so I have to remove this. So I just go Fleur-de-Lis and set the Dogmatic Punishment. And now I can go Dogmatic Punishment and just pop the Brow, and then he is basically dead. Even though the Loose will trigger, I will get the Garura, which is pretty good. Imagine me drawing Nib here. I draw Dark Ruler, and he pops the Lulu, which is even more follow-up, so that's totally fine. And now he just has nothing to do but just attack over the Chaos Star Source. He's only on 1 card. I'm just winning another game, basically based on Thunderbolt, right? That could have been, I guess, a Mercurier too, in theory, but I feel like getting that follow-up with Garura is almost better, especially in this kind of grind state where I've already made my board. So like I don't need to fuse on my next turn, right? I just need to go like make a card leave the extra deck for Quem, and that's very easy with High Spirits Recurrence. So you guys will see. I summon out Cartesia off of Lulu, and here I'll just basically go High Spirits so I can get my Mirror Jade back, send the second Guignol, which is why second Guignol is very important, and why I like the second Cartesia here too, so I don't have to worry about things. And now I just go Quem, target Mirror Jade, and now I can go Mirror Jade effect, banish the Loose, and send the Brigand finally to get the Merc for follow-up, and then just go for GG here. So yeah, I don't know what else to say besides Dogmatica Fleur-de-Lis is actually insane and branded, and I actually think this card has merit in Modern once again. I don't know if that's something I'll check out anytime soon, but it definitely does have some merit to try out for people. Let me know if you've used this card before. I really like it. I think it's so powerful in a lower power format like Genesys, so I think something that we can definitely run for sure. Where are all my points by? Okay, there they are. They all disappeared. All right, what did you guys think? Do you guys want to see more Genesys gameplay? Let me know down below. We will be seeing you guys later. GamesGX signing out. Bye now. Also, thank you Konami for making Brandon really good again. Just don't hit Fallen, or if you guys want my take on Fallen of the White Dragon, how many points that should be, I guess that'd be a good little bonus. I think Fallen of the White Dragon, if it was like 10, it would probably be way too good if it was 10. If it was like 15, I could cut the Branded Fusion, I'd get 10 more points, and then I could just run 2 Fallen of the White Dragon. I think I would do that, honestly, but I don't know. I still love Branded Fusion, so it would feel weird. Like, it would have to become a synchro deck, right, at that point, then I lose a lot of my good cards, so I don't know. It'll be interesting. If Ecclesia the Black is literally like nothing though, this card's gonna be like, I'll just run it without the new Albaz, because there's a lot of states where I get to Cartesia Albaz or something, they imperm me, and then okay, it's like I just go Ecclesia the Black. So it's gonna be interesting to see. What do you guys think of Fleur-de-Lis? Let me know down below. Also, go on my website if you want to pick up my branded spreadsheet or get some really cool merch, all that fun stuff. Guys, if you want to help support the channel, I very much would appreciate. You can get these nice t-shirts too and merch. Yeah, we'll be seeing you guys later. Bye now, guys.